Welcome to the long form video on the Fisherman roll. In this video we're going to cover what exactly the Fisherman roll is, how to progress, what steps are that you can take, what makes a good quality roll, and what the training recommendations are. But first thing first, who is the Fisherman roll good for? Well, the Fisherman roll, you can think of it as an easier version than a martial arts shoulder roll. So in that sense, I would recommend it to anyone who practices anything where they can land, where you can land on parts of the body that could hurt. So for example, if you do skateboarding, then I recommend practicing the Fisherman roll before practicing something like a shoulder roll, because it's such a basic pattern that when it comes down to it, you'll be more able to use that to save yourself from, say, bumping your head than using a shoulder roll. That being said, for someone who has a great shoulder roll, the Fisherman roll is going to be easy, maybe helpful as well. So let's get to it. What is the Fisherman roll? It starts in a Fisherman position, which you can see here. You want to get familiar with that position. Maybe even do some squats in and out of it. But once you got that, we can already get to step number 2, which is a half Fisherman roll from your back. There, you start slowly on your back, and it feels like quite a safe position. If you decide to roll towards your right side, then your right knee is going to come towards your right shoulder, embryo position, but only half of your body is doing that, so only the right knee. Then the left leg is going to swing out to help lever your weight onto your hands so you can push up and finish in the Fisherman position. So there's quite a lot to coordinate here, which is why it's good to do this progression quite a number of times so that you get really familiar how to get from your back into the Fisherman position with relative ease. If you're immobile, then this can be a good mobility building exercise. Then, the slower you take, the more benefit you get from it. So by now, I've spoken of while, I'm assuming that you're practicing this step from the back onto the Fisherman position. That means once you have it, you're ready for step number 3, which is from the Fisherman position to get into the lying back position, which should be very easy because all you're doing is reversing the motion. Now you can try this as literally as I said, go from your back into the Fisherman and reverse the motion. If you've got good muscle memory, if you've got a good feeling of what it's like, then you've already pretty much mastered this step. But if you feel like there's some difficulties, here's a number of things that you can play with. First, if you roll onto your right side, it can be helpful to let your left leg hang out long. That is especially helpful if you roll onto your shoulder too quickly, if you feel like there's too much impact. So lowering that leg out to the side allows you to slowly transition onto your shoulder, which is where we come to the most important part of the roll, the transition from your hands on the ground, leaning forward, to moving onto your shoulder. There is a folding of the upper arm that allows you to go from hand onto the side of the shoulder. You see how the distance here is really small? So we kind of do this motion to transition through this point. Quite important, move your elbow in towards the belly button. You see how from here the elbow cannot really get into the way. So if you get stuck in the transition from hand onto shoulder, try moving your elbow closer in towards you. Perhaps even roll over the blade of the hand. Give that a try. At this point, you'll start to develop a feeling for what is a good roll and what is a bit of a clumsy or clanky or segmented roll. Really what we want to do is make it as smooth as possible. So in other words, if you feel like your upper arm is bruising, then see if you can make it somewhat lighter for yourself by slowly moving from segment to segment. Second part, we're not done yet with the Fisherman roll. Half Fisherman roll is transitioning from your shoulder towards your back. Here, all that you want to remember is round your shoulders forward, because that will make this part of your shoulder quite round. If you do this and you try to maintain perfect posture, as in being like a shelf, I guess, just being really rigid, then you won't roll as smoothly. Instead, you want to really embody the ball and roll smoothly onto your back. Once you've made it successfully on your back and you've practiced both sides, you can officially do the full Fisherman roll, which is step number 4. You roll from one side Fisherman over your shoulder and you come out the other side Fisherman. If your right leg was kneeling and you're rolling over the right side, then you should finish kneeling on your left leg. Clear? When it comes to quality, there's a saying that the Navy SEALs have, I believe, which is slow and smooth and smooth is fast. They're using it when it comes to gun combat because people tend to make mistakes when they try to rush things and shoot really quickly. You don't want to kill your own squad, right? So be really careful. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast means you practice the motions very slow and controlled. I'm pretending to load my gun. Not that I know how to do that, but it's what I see in the movies. So the same thing I want to do for the roll. Once I know I have a very smooth, slow roll, then I can start to speed things up. And you'll find if your roll is smooth enough, if when you speed it up, there are no bumps in the roll. In other words, if you do it quickly, that doesn't feel like you're being shaken, it feels like you smoothly roll out of the motion. That's when you know that you have a good quality roll. Step number 5 really is the progression, where you can start standing up from a straddle position and then go into the fisherman roll. That one's optional. Once you've got the basic, but that would be step number 5, straddle to fisherman roll. When it comes to training recommendations, I like using rolls as a warm-up because I can do it very slowly. I can slowly get used to it, even if I don't feel really energetic. Once I start rolling on the ground, usually I feel more at ease, then I start playing around, and then I do some more advanced things. One recommendation is when you start with a soft ground. When you roll, it's good to have some sort of a clean surface if you like being clean. Other than that, I like, even when it comes to rolling, practicing sets and reps. So maybe you want to start with the half fisherman roll. You do 5 on your left, 5 on your right side, and then you do it all over again, or you do full fisherman rolls next, 5 on your right side, 5 on your left side. One special hint, if you've got one side that it works better than the other, and you want to balance the sides, then I recommend starting with your funny side. That way you still reserve your mental efforts, you take all the tension that you have in the beginning to do your funny side, and then when it comes to your good side, you know, you'll feel a bit rewarded because you already passed through the difficult part and now you can smoothly roll through the easy part for yourself. I use that strategy for multiple of my acrobatic moves, for rolling, for cartwheels, even for strength work, left and right side, left leg, right leg, and they start to slowly even out. So practice sets and reps, set a number for yourself. Really here it's more about spend a bit of time on the ground rolling and feel good doing it. Once you feel smooth, then you know you can move on to the next roll, to the backward shoulder roll or forward shoulder roll. Great roll to progress with. If you want more training inspiration, then you can follow us on Instagram under @SharedSpace We've got our short form video clips inspirations. You won't be bothered with much detail there, but you get a couple of different ideas. If on the other hand you love the long form videos, subscribe here on YouTube and drop a comment if there's a request that you have, or if you have a question, or if you want to suggest something. We're always open and happy to talk. See you soon!